despite debates, despite the fact that he failed to demonstrate that it was a true dichotomy, and I bear no burden of proof to demonstrate that it's not, I'm going to demonstrate that it's not anyway. In part, I've already done this, showing that it's not exhaustive and that it's contingent. But the other aspect of this is, well, actually, that is the demonstration. I kind of got ahead of myself there. That the true dichotomy is physical, not physical. The conceptual is, in fact, not physical, but it's contingent upon the physical, and conceptual isn't the only thing that is not physical. And I don't want to confuse people too much here, so let me speed this along. Third option words, there were a number of suggestions. Intrinsic was a good one that came in, but there was one word that was already agreed upon within the scope of the debate. Its application was agreed upon, its definition was agreed upon, it's right there in the name of his argument. It was already listed as an attribute of these logical absolutes, and that word is transcendent. In that case, physical, conceptual, your third option is transcendent, if you're happy with that. I don't think we necessarily need the label to demonstrate that neither was still a good option. But transcendental, transcendent, if you like that, intrinsic. The important thing is that these things are simply true. They don't exist in any sense like of reality. They're not physical, and I would argue that they're not conceptual. They are just true. They are tautologies, which is the foundation of logic. Every logical argument is just an attempt to build the equivalent of a tautology. It's like a regressive system to A equals A. A doesn't equal not A. I still don't want to go overly deep into this, but I want to make sure I hit all the points real quick before we move on. Matt Slick went and claimed victory, which I'll admit, that ticked me off. You kind of messed with the wrong guy there, because I was willing to, have continued discussions and everything else. And while I'm not going to claim victory with regard to the argument, I'm going to claim victory with regard to reasoning power, maturity, I don't know. I wish I could think of more categories. It's pointless. You don't have to agree. I'm not even completely sure that I agree with my victory claim. But as long as you're going to do it, maybe I should nana-nana-boo-boo. I win, you don't. By the way, here's a dichotomy. Victorious, not victorious. If you were to say that either I'm victorious or it was a draw, that's a false dichotomy, because draw is in the not victorious category, right, but so is I won. Tag, from this point on, oh, by the way, he demonstrated that he's willing to take feedback and modify the written version of his argument. So if you go to the CARM website, what's written up there isn't the same as what was written up there before we talked. Unfortunately, he did not bother to correct the invalid structural problem in the argument, and he did not put anything in the flawed premise that does anything more than assert that everything is either physical or conceptual, and until somebody can give me a third option, there is no third option. So actually, he went and made his argument worse. So you're welcome to call back in, Mr. Slick, and you're welcome to present other arguments for the existence of God, although I'm not quite sure why you'd bother. If you brought your A game the first time and failed, I don't know why the B or C game should expect any different results. But you're welcome to do that. However, you're not welcome to discuss tag on the show ever again until you meet one of all of the following conditions. Number one, you retract your victory claim, just because I'm going to be just as petty as you are. Number two, you acknowledge the points I've made and actually address them rather than restating things and making bald-faced assertions. And number three, since you've shown that you will modify that page on your website, you need to modify the page on your website to reflect this as well. And when I see that that's happened, then maybe you can address tag again. Until then, tag's dead. Claiming you win doesn't make it so. And to borrow from a line, one of my favorite lines from one of my favorite shows, I can demonstrate it. Look, I'm surrounded by naked cheerleaders. Saying something doesn't make it true. Oh, and if anybody doubts that Matt Slick is actually conflicted and actually agrees with me, on the one hand, he's claiming that physical conceptual is a true dichotomy. And yet when someone asked him, which of those two categories is God in? You know what Slick's answer was? Neither. Really? Yeah, really. He said neither. And then he said God's spiritual. Okay? Whatever label you put on it, neither, transcendent, spiritual, you also accept that physical, conceptual is not a true dichotomy. Checkmate!